Right now, something in your body is holding a memory as completely real without a shred of proof, and it's not the memory you'd expect. 2 nights ago, you dreamed something small, a conversation maybe, or just walking down a hallway, and somewhere in it someone said your name, and you turned toward the sound, exactly the way you'd turn in real life. Your heart rate changed. Your breathing changed, all of it, for something that will never leave a single trace anywhere in the physical world. Now hold that next to the thing you've been chasing for months, maybe years. Feel how differently your body holds that one, still bracing, still checking your phone, still waiting on a yes from somewhere outside you. Your nervous system believed a hallway that never existed, off a voice that was never spoken, with zero evidence, and it still hasn't handed you that same trust for something you actually want. Which means the thing you've been chasing was never missing proof. It was missing this, not a hope aimed at some future yes, but a memory you simply haven't let yourself have yet. That's what tonight is actually about, not chasing harder. Not waiting longer, something closer to assuming it already happened, the same way your body assumed that hallway, that voice, that turn toward your own name, without asking anyone's permission first. There's a particular kind of confidence you carry around all day without noticing it. You don't doubt that you brushed your teeth this morning. You don't doubt that you walked through your front door at some point yesterday. You don't sit there gathering proof, hoping it's true, checking your phone for a sign that confirms it happened. It's filed, closed, done. Your mind isn't working on it anymore. That's worth pausing on, because most people never notice it. The mind treats memory as a completed file. No effort required to keep believing it. No emotional labor spent defending it. You don't even call it believing. You just call it knowing. Now put something else next to it. The relationship you've been hoping will finally feel safe. The number in your bank account you keep checking, hoping it moved. The health update you're still waiting to hear. The job, the apartment, the version of your life that still hasn't arrived. Hold that next to the memory of brushing your teeth this morning and feel the difference in texture. One is closed. The other is still open, still active, still asking something of you every single day. Here's the part most manifestation conversations skip entirely. The difference between those two states has almost nothing to do with what's logically true and everything to do with which folder your mind has filed it into. Closed, like a stamped passport after a trip you already took. Nothing left to prove, nothing left to hope for. The journey is simply part of your history now. Or open, like a boarding pass in your hand for a flight that hasn't been called yet. Useful, important, but still pending, still capable of being delayed, still requiring you to keep checking the screen. Most people spend years trying to will an open file shut through sheer intensity. They visualize harder. They repeat the affirmation with more feeling. They say the word abundance until it stops meaning anything. And underneath all of that effort is a boarding pass still gripped tightly in their hand, because somewhere inside, the file never actually closed. It only got louder. If you've tried this, vision boards, gratitude lists, repeating "it's already mine" until the words felt hollow, this isn't a sign that you did it wrong. It's a sign that effort was never the missing ingredient. You can feel a desire with tremendous intensity and still be telling your nervous system, underneath all that feeling, this hasn't happened yet. Intensity doesn't close a file. Only a different relationship with time does that. So here's a question worth sitting with for a moment. When was the last time you felt anxious about something that already happened? Not something you're afraid might happen again, something fully behind you, fully settled. It's almost impossible to feel that kind of anxiety about the past. The nervous system doesn't fight a closed door. It only fights an open one. That's the real subject of this video. Not how to want something more. Not how to visualize harder or feel more grateful or speak with more conviction. It's about understanding why your mind treats yesterday's coffee with more certainty than tomorrow's dream, and what changes the moment you learn to file your desire the same way you file a memory, not as something you're still hoping for, but as something that already happened and is simply being recalled. Because the moment that file closes, something quiet happens. The checking stops. The hoping stops. And what's left in its place doesn't feel like effort at all. It feels like remembering. Pay attention to the language you use about the thing you want, and you'll notice something almost everyone does without realizing it. I will be debt-free. One day, I'll meet someone. I'm working on attracting more clients. I'm trying to heal. Every one of those sentences is grammatically built to keep the desire exactly where it currently sits, outside of now. This isn't a small detail. Language doesn't just describe your position in time, it assigns it. Every time you say, I will, you're rehearsing the identity of someone who currently does not have it. You can say it with hope, with faith, with your whole chest. And the sentence will still quietly confirm underneath the hope that the thing hasn't happened yet. Hope is sincere. The grammar is honest. And the grammar is the one your nervous system actually listens to. There's a deeper layer underneath this, worth slowing down for. You have never, in your entire life, directly experienced the future. Not once. What you call the future is always something your mind constructs right now in the present, using imagination, memory, and expectation as raw material. The actual future, the one that hasn't happened yet, is never lived. It's only ever anticipated. By the time anything actually arrives, it isn't the future anymore. It's just today. Think of it like a GPS calculating your arrival time. The screen says 14 minutes. You drive. It recalculates 12, 11. The number keeps shrinking, but it never once says, you have arrived, while you're still driving. That sentence only becomes true the moment you actually stop the car. Until then, no matter how close you get, the GPS is still speaking the language of not yet. And here's the part people miss. The moment you do arrive, the GPS doesn't announce the future tense getting fulfilled. It just goes quiet. The will disappears entirely, replaced by something that doesn't need a countdown at all. Here, even practices built around gratitude can quietly fall into this same trap. Saying, thank you for the money that's coming, sounds hopeful, but notice the tense hiding inside it. Coming. Still in motion. Still arriving. Still, technically, not here. None of this means gratitude doesn't matter or that hope is wrong. It means the sentence itself may be working against the very feeling it's trying to create. This is what happens every time you place a desire in the future tense. You're not lying to yourself, and you're not doing it wrong. You're using the only tense most of us were ever taught to use for hope. I will, I'm going to, someday. But that tense, by its very nature, keeps the GPS running. It keeps the countdown alive. It keeps you 14 minutes away forever, no matter how much closer you actually get, because the words themselves were never built to land. They were built to anticipate. If you've spent years repeating "I will" and feeling like the goalpost keeps sliding further away, this is why. It was never about trying harder or believing more. The sentence was structured to keep the desire at a distance, not because you weren't doing enough, but because nobody ever showed you that will is the one tense that can't describe something happening right now. Wanting harder doesn't fix a tense problem, only changing the tense does. So ask yourself quietly, how many of the things you want most are still being spoken about in a voice that hasn't arrived yet? Not because they're far away in reality, but because that's the only voice you were ever taught to use for desire. There's a moment in almost every manifestation video you've ever watched where the narrator says some version of, "Picture the moment it happens. Picture opening the email. Picture the phone ringing with the news. Picture stepping into the new apartment for the first time." It sounds right. It feels like progress, and it's actually where most people get stuck without ever noticing it. Here's why. That moment, the instant of arrival, is not a settled memory. It's still a threshold. It still carries the charge of first time. Your hands are still a little unsteady. Your heart is still doing something. There's still a flicker of disbelief mixed in with the joy, a small voice asking, "Is this actually real?" That moment is beautiful, but it isn't ordinary yet. And ordinary is what you're actually after, even if no one ever told you that. So the real shift isn't learning to picture the arrival harder, with more detail, more emotion, more conviction. The real shift is turning around completely, facing backward instead of forward, the way you'd turn from staring down a road you haven't walked yet to remembering one you've already walked 100 times. You stop asking, "When will this happen?" and start asking, "How did this happen?" As if it's already behind you. But there's a layer most people miss even when they try this. If you only imagine the moment of arrival itself, you're still standing at the threshold, still in the doorway, still mid-transition. What actually settles a memory isn't the doorway. It's what's on the other side of it, once the doorway has been forgotten entirely. Think about moving into a new home. Moving day is loud, boxes everywhere, your hands smell like cardboard, you're not sure where anything is, every light switch is in the wrong place compared to your old house. That day is real, but it isn't familiar yet. Now think about that same home a year later. You walk in from work, reach for the light switch in the pitch dark without even glancing at the wall, because your hand already knows. You don't feel grateful for the switch being there. You don't marvel at owning a home. You just live in it. That's not the moment of arrival. That's after the after. This is the part worth sitting in fully. Don't imagine the day you get the news. Imagine a Tuesday, 8 months later, when the news is old. Don't imagine the first kiss. Imagine the version of you who's been loved so steadily for so long that it stopped feeling like an event and started feeling like weather. Don't imagine the call that changes your finances. Imagine the version of you who pays a bill without a flinch because the flinch wore off months ago. That's where the real memory lives, not at the doorway, but in the room you've been standing in so long you've stopped noticing the furniture. The doorway still has tension in it. The room doesn't. So here's something worth asking yourself honestly. When you picture the thing you want, are you still standing in the doorway, at the moment of arrival, heart pounding, disbelief still flickering? Or have you let yourself walk all the way into the room where it's already just life? Here's something worth noticing before we go further. The technique doesn't change from one area of life to another. It's the same sentence, translated into 5 different languages. The words sound different: money, love, health, home, career. But the grammar underneath stays identical. This already happened. This is just normal now. Only the vocabulary shifts. Start with money. Most people picture the moment a check clears or a deal closes. Instead, picture a Wednesday morning, 11 months from now, where you're paying a bill without that familiar tightening in your chest. You remember, not imagine, remember. The afternoon the unexpected payment came through, how you were folding laundry when your phone buzzed, how you almost ignored it because you assumed it was spam. You remember thinking, that's earlier than I expected, the way you'd remember any ordinary surprise. Not relief, not euphoria, just a small, settled fact, already filed. Love works the same way, just wearing a different room. Skip the first date, skip the proposal, skip the highlight reel. Land somewhere quieter, a random evening, far enough out that the relationship has stopped feeling like news. You remember how unspectacular the beginning actually was. A conversation near a coffee machine, or a slow text exchange that didn't feel like anything special at the time. You remember someone saying something small and ordinary, "You want the same thing again?" and how that line became somehow one of the ones you think about. Not a fireworks memory, a Tuesday memory. Those are the ones that last. With health, the shift feels even more obvious. Don't picture the test result. Picture 3 months past it, on a morning where you reach for your shoes to go for a walk, and your body simply does what you ask it to, without negotiation. You remember the day you noticed you'd gone an entire week without checking a symptom that used to run your whole day. You remember feeling almost suspicious of how unremarkable that realization was. No trumpet sound, no finish line, just an ordinary Thursday where fear quietly forgot to show up. Home follows the identical shape. Skip moving day entirely. You already know why. Picture a year in. You remember walking through the door with your arms full of groceries, flipping on a light without looking. The way your body already knows this place, the way it used to know the old one. You remember a small, specific evening, maybe a thunderstorm, maybe just an ordinary dinner, when it occurred to you, almost in passing, that this had quietly become home without you marking the exact day it happened. And career, last but no different. Don't picture the offer letter. Picture 6 months in, an unremarkable Monday where the work simply fits, where you're no longer performing competence, you're just doing the job. You remember a conversation in a hallway, something small someone said that made you realize you belonged there. You remember it the way you remember any ordinary work day. Half detail, half forgotten, entirely real. 5 different rooms, same house, same sentence, every time. It already happened, and now it's just life. The only thing that ever changes is which door you're remembering walking through. Here's something worth noticing before we go further. The technique doesn't change from one area of life to another. It's the same sentence, translated into 5 different languages. The words sound different: money, love, health, home, career, but the grammar underneath stays identical. This already happened. This is just normal now. Only the vocabulary shifts. Take money. Most people picture the moment a check clears or a deal closes. Instead, Picture a Wednesday morning, 11 months from now, where you're paying a bill without that familiar tightening in your chest. You remember, not imagine, remember, the afternoon the unexpected payment came through, how you were folding laundry when your phone buzzed, how you almost ignored it because you assumed it was spam. You remember thinking, that's earlier than I expected, the way you'd remember any ordinary surprise. Not relief, not euphoria, just a small settled fact, already filed. Take love, skip the first date, skip the proposal, skip the highlight reel, land somewhere quieter, a random evening, far enough out that the relationship has stopped feeling like news. You remember how unspectacular the beginning actually was. A conversation near a coffee machine, or a slow text exchange that didn't feel like anything special at the time. You remember someone saying something small and ordinary. You want the same thing again? And how that line became, somehow, one of the ones you think about. Not a fireworks memory, a Tuesday memory. Those are the ones that last. Take health. Don't picture the test result. Picture 3 months past it, on a morning where you reach for your shoes to go for a walk, and your body simply does what you ask it to, without negotiation. You remember the day you noticed you'd gone an entire week without checking a symptom that used to run your whole day. You remember feeling almost suspicious of how unremarkable that realization was. No trumpet sound, no finish line, just an ordinary Thursday where fear quietly forgot to show up. Take home. Skip moving day entirely. You already know why. Picture a year in. You remember walking through the door with your arms full of groceries, flipping on a light without looking, the way your body already knows this place the way it used to know the old one. You remember a small, specific evening, maybe a thunderstorm, maybe just an ordinary dinner, when it occurred to you, almost in passing, that this had quietly become home without you marking the exact day it happened. Take career. Don't picture the offer letter. Picture 6 months in, an unremarkable Monday where the work simply fits, where you're no longer performing competence, you're just doing the job. You remember a conversation in a hallway, something small someone said that made you realize you belonged there. You remember it the way you remember any ordinary workday, half detail, half forgotten, entirely real. 5 different rooms, same house, same sentence, every time. It already happened, and now it's just life. The only thing that ever changes is which door you're remembering walking through. So why does swapping a single word in a sentence actually matter? Why would I remember do something different inside you than I will? Say this sentence out loud, quietly, just to yourself. I will have the money I need. Notice what your body does. There's a faint brace to it, almost a held breath, like leaning towards something just out of reach. Now say this instead. I remember when the money finally stopped being tight. Notice the difference. Something in your shoulders drops half an inch. That's not your imagination playing a trick on you. That's your nervous system responding to 2 different instructions, even though nothing in your bank account changed between the 2 sentences. This is the part most explanations of manifestation skip, and it's worth being precise about it instead of mystical. Your subconscious mind doesn't have a perfect filing system that separates things that actually happened from things I rehearsed vividly with real emotion and real sensory detail over and over. It mostly tracks intensity, repetition, and specificity, not the source. This is the same mechanism actors rely on when they need real tears for a scene that never happened to them. A trained actor doesn't fake crying. They recall something true from their own life with enough sensory detail, the smell of a hallway, the exact words someone said, until the body responds as if it's happening now, even though on stage, none of it actually is. The body isn't lying. It's just responding to what feels real, based on detail and emotion, not a fact check. This isn't proof that imagining something hard enough will make it appear in your bank account by Friday. That would be a different, much smaller idea than what's actually true here. What it does mean is that your inner state, your attention, your nervous system, the small daily decisions you make without thinking, reorganizes around whatever currently feels settled as real to you. Reach for "I will" all day, and your body keeps practicing distance. Reach for "I remember," built with real texture and feeling, and your body starts practicing arrival instead. And arrival, practiced enough times, tends to change what you notice, what you risk, and what you walk toward without deciding to. Which raises a question worth carrying with you. If your body already responds to the memory before the facts catch up, what exactly are you still waiting on permission for? Notice something about the question, "How is this going to happen?" You never ask it about anything you already consider settled. You don't lie awake wondering how you're going to brush your teeth tomorrow morning. You don't need a 5-step plan for how your heart is going to keep beating tonight while you sleep. The question "how" only shows up around things your mind still has filed as open, uncertain, unfinished, requiring your supervision to actually occur. Which means obsessively asking, "How will this happen?" isn't a harmless habit. It's a quiet confession that, underneath the hoping, the file is still open. Your body trusts an enormous amount of machinery without your conscious involvement. Digestion, healing, the slow repair of a bruise you don't remember happening. You don't manage any of that. You don't supervise the mechanism. You simply live, and the unseen parts of you handle the rest, on a schedule you were never shown and don't need to see. The bridge between a desire and its arrival can work the same way, once it stops requiring your constant inspection. This isn't a case for doing nothing. If there's an obvious door in front of you, the application, the conversation, the appointment, you still walk through it. Letting go of how was never about abandoning action. It was about abandoning the exhausting second job of mentally engineering every step between here and there, as if the universe were waiting on your blueprint before it could move. Here's a version of how this tends to look in real life. A woman spends nearly 2 years doing what she'd been taught: vision boards, lottery numbers circled in red, picturing the exact moment a check arrives. Nothing changes, and worse, she starts to resent the practice itself, the way you resent a gym membership you keep paying for and never use. At some point, exhausted, she stops picturing the arrival entirely. Instead, before bed, for less than a minute, she simply recalls, the way you'd recall an old memory, a moment of an old debt quietly disappearing, a refund she'd forgotten about landing in her account on an unremarkable afternoon. No fireworks in the memory, just relief, mild and ordinary, the kind that comes with something already resolved. She didn't track the how anymore. Months later, money did arrive, not through the lottery numbers she'd circled for 2 years, but through an old insurance overpayment she'd completely forgotten filing a claim for, refunded out of nowhere by a company she'd stopped expecting anything from. This isn't a formula, and it isn't a guarantee with a date attached to it. It's simply a recognizable pattern. The bridge of events that actually carries a desire home is almost never the one you'd have designed yourself, and you tend to only notice it once you've stopped insisting on a blueprint. That's the real shape of letting go of how, not passivity. Just enough trust to stop running every leg of the race yourself so that something else, timing, other people, a door you weren't watching, can carry the parts you were never going to be able to carry alone anyway. Which brings this whole thing down to something far less mystical than it might sound: a rhythm. Something ordinary enough to actually live inside of, morning after morning, night after night. Here's what that rhythm actually looks like across a single day. Not complicated, just consistent. The way tending a small garden bed works better with 3 light touches than with 1 exhausting one. The first touch happens in the morning, before the world gets its hands on your attention, before the phone, before the inbox, before the to-do list starts narrating your life back to you in urgent tenses. A few breaths, eyes closed if that helps, landing briefly in the settled scene you've already built. Not the whole visualization, just enough of it to remember the texture, the ordinary detail, the small flaw, the 10 seconds of, "Oh, that's right, this already happened." That's it. You're not performing a ritual, you're just setting the light and water for whatever the day is about to grow. The second touch happens in the middle of things, and it has nothing to do with sitting still. It's simpler than that. It's noticing. Somewhere around midday, you'll catch yourself saying it. "I hope this works out. I'm trying to fix this. One day, I'll figure it out." That's a weed, and weeds don't need to be fought with. They need to be noticed and gently pulled before they take root in the rest of the soil. You don't need a long correction, just a quiet rephrase, even half-spoken in your head. Not "I hope," but "I remember when this stopped being a question at all." 1 sentence. Then back to your day. The third touch is the deepest one, and it happens right before sleep. The same retrospective scene from earlier, but given more room this time, 2 or 3 unhurried minutes instead of a few seconds. There's a reason this works better at night than at noon. Your body is already loosening its grip on the day, already slower, already less defended. Whatever gets planted in soil that relaxed tends to take hold more easily than anything planted while you're still bracing for the next email. You're not forcing yourself to believe anything before you fall asleep. You're just letting the mind rehearse, one more time, the version of the memory you actually want it practicing on repeat all night. Do this for a few weeks, not perfectly, not without missed mornings or forgotten nights, and something quietly shifts, not because you tried harder, because the soil simply got watered more consistently than the weeds did. If this is the kind of conversation you want to keep having, the kind that doesn't hand you a slogan and call it a day, follow along here. This channel exists for exactly this. Going past the surface version of these ideas, week after week, without dumbing it down. Now, zoom out for a second, because there's a wider view worth sitting in before we close. Some of the oldest contemplative traditions, long before any of this had a name like manifestation, described time differently than a straight line moving from not yet to now to gone. They described past, present, and future less like beads on a string and more like notes being played at the same time, different, but sounding together. You don't have to take that as literal physics to feel what it's pointing at. It's simply this. When you recall the version of your life where the thing already happened, You may not be inventing something out of nothing. You may be remembering a shape that, on some level, was always part of the whole song, just not yet the note you'd been listening for. That's not a fact you need to prove. It's a possibility worth holding loosely, the way you'd hold any idea that changes how a thing feels without needing to win an argument first. There's a version of you sitting somewhere down the road, maybe closer than you think, who has already lived through whatever you've been quietly holding on to this whole time. That version isn't waiting anymore. They're not checking their phone for the sign. They're not rehearsing the speech they'd give if it finally happened. For them, it already did. It's just part of their ordinary week now, filed away with all the other unremarkable, settled facts of a life, somewhere next to what they had for breakfast yesterday, and just as easy to hold. You didn't get there by trying harder. You got there by changing direction, by turning around from a road you hadn't walked yet and remembering one you already had. By walking past the doorway, into the room where it stopped being news. By tending something quietly, 3 small times a day, instead of gripping it once, hard, and hoping that was enough. None of this makes the old version of you, the one who's still checking, still hoping, still saying one day, wrong, or behind, or broken. That version learned to survive by staying alert to what hadn't arrived yet. It kept you safe for a long time. It just isn't the part of you that's going to carry this forward. That part is quieter. It doesn't need to convince anyone, including you, that something is coming. It already knows it's here because it stopped speaking about it in the voice of the future. Some traditions would say that version of you, calm, certain, already living it, exists right now, on some layer you simply haven't tuned your attention to yet. You don't have to take that as fact. You only have to notice that the moment you start speaking, thinking, and remembering like that version, something in your days quietly starts to rearrange itself around the conversation you're actually having, instead of the one you were avoiding. So tonight, before you fall asleep, you already know what to do. Not because I gave you a script to follow, because somewhere in the last few minutes you remembered it. If this conversation gave you something to sit with, I'd ask you for 2 small things, the same way I'd ask a friend. Share this with 5 people who are still living in the future tense about something, because sometimes the kindest thing you can hand someone isn't advice, it's a different sentence to try. And if any part of this touched something real in you, leave a comment, not a polished one, just an honest one. And tell me which part of your life you're ready to start remembering instead of waiting for. While you're there, tell me what you want this channel to talk about next. This only goes as deep as the conversation we keep having together. Because somewhere, on some ordinary Tuesday that hasn't happened yet, you're going to look back on tonight and remember it as the night you finally stopped waiting and started recalling who you already were.